And we are live. How's everyone doing? All right. I got my coffee. I'm good to go. So, what are we doing on this stream? Well, um, again, so what these streams are going to be are the design sessions for the art behind Tarnum. So, we got to figure out what this show is going to look like, what all the details are going to look like, so that we can create the final art behind it. Um, and so, what I'm going to start with is the actual. I'm going to revisit the spacesuit. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this guy off here. There we go. Transition that out. All right, cool. So this is what I'm starting with. I went ahead and warmed up for about the past hour or so and just sketched out some human figures. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to dress these guys up, hopefully over the next 2 hours, into some really cool spacesuits, similar to the one that you guys saw on the announcement video, which I can actually pull up here, is this guy, which you can see is incomplete. But I kind of cheated you guys a little bit and went ahead and just overpainted for the poster image because I wanted to start getting these live streams going. So we're gonna take what we like from this suit, try to apply some of that to these thumbnails here, these little figures that we're gonna dress up, and so we're gonna take the parts we like and we're going to replace the parts we don't like. And I'll kind of walk you through what I like and what I don't. I really like this centerpiece and how it has these like wires kind of coming up and going over the back. I like the oxygen thing that goes around to the back. I think I need to fix the helmet a little bit. A lot of things don't read very well as functional, so I'm going to go ahead and try to conquer some of that as we get going in the designing out the rest of this suit. So I'm going to go ahead and load up some brushes here that I like to work with. And we're just going to lower this guy down so that I can paint directly over top. And I'm just going to be sketching in some of these thumbnails. Drop that down to 25. I know that one of the things I want to revisit is the size of the helmet overall. I think the size of the helmet for me, as it currently stands, is a little bit too small. I actually made it a little bit bigger for the poster image, and I think it'll end up reading better for what the thing finally looks like in the end. So, and if you're in the chat, if you want to ask questions about Bright Session, Tarnum, me, go for it. I've got you guys up on another screen, and I can go ahead and chat with you while I sketch. So we're going to start in and just get in some very basic shapes to kind of lay in, to get some ideas going. I know I want some type of chest visor going, so I can block that in very quickly. I don't yet know what I want it to look like. So I know I like this element in the center, so I can go ahead and steal that really quick. Let's see, what's that shape? Okay. We've got like a thing going like that. So where are you guys all coming from? Are you coming primarily from the Bright Sessions? Are you coming from other places? I'd love to know. Megan B, have I studied art at all, or is this just a hobby? You're really good. Thank you. I'm trying to get better, constantly trying to get better. I did go to school at I did online schooling with Full Sail University out of Orlando, Florida, while I've been living here in Los Angeles. And that was a major in computer animation. So it wasn't purely drawing, but it was a lot of 3D work, a lot of if you know any of that kind of pipeline, it's like how they make pretty much any major blockbuster movies nowadays, just all the CG and how that works. The Bright Sessions. Yay, yay. I'm excited for the new season. And I'm probably going to spend a good amount of mental energy on this chess piece, just because it's going to kind of form the center of everything. Everything's going to kind of branch off of that. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the same shapes on all of these different poses to kind of make sure I like how the shapes are working. And then I can adjust them if I inevitably don't like the shapes, because you never get them right on the first time, right? It's all about just doing it over and over again until you can lock it in. But in regard to the actual podcast as a whole for Tarnum, it's still a ways off. It's going to be released in 2018, and pretty much as soon as I can get it done is the answer to when it comes out. But I just really want to make sure that I'm giving you guys the best product I possibly can. So that's why it's been taking some time. I joined late, but can you tell us a bit about what Tarnum is? Absolutely. So Tarnum is going to be a sci-fi podcast. In regards to the story, it takes place on Mars, which I haven't actually said that yet. So it takes place on Mars. Essentially, this guy wakes up on Mars, and he doesn't remember who he is, how he got there. He's faced with a lot of immediate problems, and he has to survive. And there may or may not be other people in the mix. Am I working on Tarnum alone or with other people? Currently, I'm a team of one. I want to see how far I can get through a first season. Just kind of making sure that I'm kind of running the story how I want to run it. And then I may or may not expand outward from there. But it will be just me in the beginning. Do we like these shapes? So far, I'm liking it. It's got somewhere to go. Go ahead and these aren't quite the same though. This one needs to come down further. How often do I plan to post episodes? Once it releases, it'll release bi-weekly. So that'll give me enough time to keep up with the art once I go live, as well as make sure that I'm not just like cramming it all out there at once. So once it goes live, it'll be bi-weekly, and then it'll be similar to, like, it'll have seasons, and then I'll go on hiatuses as I produce the next season and so on. I kind of like this shape in the middle for this piece too. It's vaguely reminiscent of like a skull, which is kind of interesting thematically. But I'm liking where this is starting. And now we can actually take a look at this backside, what this is going to kind of look like. So we know we have these top pieces coming around. But I'm really hoping to get down the line, get the community involved in doing a lot of fan art and things like that. I haven't quite. Will What will the ooh good question? What will the narrating style of the podcast be? Kind of like a diary, or will the main character be the narrator, or something completely different? I think I'll have to qualify that as something completely different. Um, there isn't narration. It is very driven. There's going to be a lot of sound effects and what we call Foley work done in it. Um, so I'm hoping to kind of use the soundscape of the show to drive it forward. But the goal is to not have any like in the main character's head type of narration whatsoever, which I know is something that's kind of unique currently. I don't yet know what's going to be on this back portion. It's going to be some type of. I think that's where his oxygen supply or something of that nature is going to be. Go ahead and give him his helmet. And I'm going to keep an eye on the time too. I want to try to do these fairly quickly so that I can actually get to rendering them later on. Hopefully I can get a good image by the end of this session. And that's looking all right. Now we just got to get that other shape on the front here. Boom. Yeah, but one of the big things that made me want to go down this route in particular with all the art is I really loved seeing the community interaction on the Bright sessions with all the fan art and things like that. So I'm trying to think of a shape for what this kind of oxygen tank is going to look like on the back here. Yeah, it's kind of bland, but I'll come back to it. Highly recommend you narrate your drawing for the next few minutes solely in Damien's voice. Do you think Damien is an avid drawer in the Bright sessions? Do you think he's sitting in his room all sad and just drawing all his problems out? Allison, how long have I been planning Tarnum? I have been planning Tarnum for quite some time. Some people might remember that it was originally supposed to come out this summer. Well, that didn't happen. So, and one of the reasons is the writing. I wanted the writing to be in a place that I was happy with before I moved forward with everything. So the story as a whole has gone through several and really several different stages, different variations rather. Um, but now it's gotten to a point that I like, so it's time to go ahead and just execute and get the thing made. In terms of like tone for this show, I want this show to kind of be. I'm gonna try to go for a little bit of a darker tone than a lot of podcasts that we currently see out there. These arms and sleeves I want to keep fairly simple. Just kind of like allude to the way that the fabric is folding over itself and all that. But I really want to draw attention to the center plate and eventually his head. And you know, the head. Someone mentioned earlier that they like the texture on the visor. Dancing's Millie. And that's one of the big things that we want to draw attention to in the design, so that when we actually illustrate the actual frames for the show, that really it just draws the eye straight to the visor, or in another way, to the characters' faces, right? When does anyone know what's the release date for the next season of Bright Set? I feel like I should know that, right? I should know that. But if anyone knows, go ahead and let me know in the chat. I gotta be ready for it because I know it's pretty soon. Also, one thing to keep in mind is that there is a slight delay between the recording software and the live stream itself. So if you ask a question and it takes me a minute to even register that there is a question, that's why. Yeah, why? YouTube gaming emojis apparently are not the most aesthetically pleasing, are they? All right, we're getting somewhere on these guys. I like the basic flow of the sleeves. So now what we can do is, once I add the same effect to the sleeves to the other ones, then we can start adding like accessories over top of them, and just trying to get a little bit more story into this design. Things like emblems, like, ooh, what is Tarnum? And the idea is that Tarnum is kind of presents itself as kind of a NASA-esque entity. So think like a company that has built all this gear and stuff, and their logo is on everything, that type of thing. And I've got my brain working on what I might want to do with this guy. I know I'm going to have some type of oxygen connector coming around the back, but then I should also have some type of connection into the helmet. Because I'm trying to think of all the things that a high-tech spacesuit like this would need to function, without going too out of the realm of realism. I still want to base this off of kind of either modern day space gear or slightly in the future space gear. Think kind of like SpaceX's designs and things of that nature. like for their mission to Mars plans and all that fun stuff. Why did I title the podcast Tarnum, and does your character have a name? So the first one, why is the podcast named Tarnum? That has to do with kind of a central story point, which is this entity of Tarnum that I was talking about. With you see their logo everywhere. Tarnum's kind of written on all the machinery that you find and on all the spacesuits. And yet, a big tenet of this podcast world is that everyone who's woken up in this place can't remember anything because they've all been frozen. And apparently, it's a big part of the freezing process that memory is very hard to maintain. So you have a bunch of people who've woken up on Mars out of cryo chambers, and no one knows what's going on. So that is why the thing is called Tarnum, because the mystery of what Tarnum is, how it came to be, how these people came to be there, and what they do in response to it. And does my character have a name? My character, my character, who will be the main character, does in fact have a name. His name is Elon, and yeah, we start with him, and we kind of follow him as he wakes up and discovers what the heck this place is. October 18th for the release on the Bright Sessions. That's good to know. Ooh, I'm not quite getting the flow of this arm right, am I? Let me check these other ones. Space mystery, pretty accurate description. Although technically they're on Mars, not quite in space, but will this live stream be posted when it's over? Yes, my goal is to have all of the live streams archived on my YouTube channel to be viewed whenever. And I believe the way that's currently set up, once the podcast is over, then it automatically will upload. But I'll have to see if there's any problems with that. I might have to do it manually. But regardless, I will get it up there. Okay, I want to think about this back piece now, because that blob I've got there right now is kind of bothering me. What types of things need to happen in that back piece? Okay, we need oxygen. We need probably power of some sort. Maybe there's a battery source in there. Maybe some sort of communications. And I think that's pretty much it. So I'll go ahead and clean up, and keeping these three things in mind, we'll just kind of throw those off to the side and start doodling over top of this. Will it be space as we know it, or a fantasy version? So it will be a fantasy version, but in terms of, I don't want to. My intent is to not do anything that's too outlandish in terms of, like nothing too over the top fantasy. Like if you think about the movie The Martian or something like that, I want to go a little bit more fantasy than something like that, but I want to make everything feel as visceral and believable as possible. Okay, how can I split this thing up? Maybe it has two sections, like an upper and lower section. And, you know, we'll give them a little antenna. No, I don't like that. That over. You see this, so this process of thumbnailing is a lot of just sketch and erase over it and sketch again and erase over it and just finding new shapes. And that's how design's done. That's how you can try to come up with something very unique, because you're kind of playing off of a bunch of happy accidents that are happening as you draw. Like you just, oh, there's a random mark. Well, okay, I can try to work with that and find new shapes. Like maybe match that other side. When something isn't working, you can just kind of leave it alone and go and work on something else, which I think I'm going to do. Not quite sure where that back is going. Kind of want just like some cords connecting into his helmet. Am I the only voiceover actor, or will there be other voiceover actors? There will be. I will only, as far as my current plan is, I am only playing a single character. So there will be a whole host of people who have yet to be announced because they've not been cast yet. But I'm sure there is a high probability you'll be seeing some familiar names and hearing some fairly familiar voices. But casting is still to be done. Dancing's Millie, what's your advice on creating a podcast that stands out from the masses? If you figure out that answer, you let me know, okay? Because that'd be... hopefully I will have a podcast that will stand out from the masses. But we'll see. I know that in my personal thoughts Um, Good writing is always a huge draw, you know? Really workshopping your writing and making sure that people are going to care about these characters and care about the trials they go through, and also make sure that they have worthy trials to go through. Um, but that's where it all kind of goes for me, is the writing in terms of whether something's good or bad. And as we see, I'm gonna start working my way down the body, try to get in a little more detail. I want some type of, I know I want like this harness system. I'm gonna go real quick and show you guys some other thumbnails I did before. And these are some, how I got some ideas out there, but most of these ideas I ended up not going with. Like all the back pieces and stuff are kind of meh. But one thing I really did like is the idea of these harnesses, which you find on a lot of modern spacesuits and stuff like that. That they're all just harnessed together so that you can carry a bunch of stuff with you. You can have like the support you need, like whatever. So there's a little buckle going into there, buckle going into there, and then a belt line. So I want to make this play between kind of these two different materials to make the suit really interesting. One's going to be a little darker, kind of like a fiber mesh, which is what's underneath. Think like a very sporty, like long sleeve T-shirt type of material, and then this will be more like a plastic. Is it hard to do all the sketching on one layer, or do you think it's easier just to erase what you don't like? So I am actually doing it on one layer specifically to force myself to erase. Because what happens is if I'm making a bunch of shapes and then I have to erase those shapes, there's always going to be stuff left behind. And the value of this stuff that's left behind, even though that looks like nothing, that's where you get all your happy accidents that create shapes that are very unique. Because you didn't think of them, they just came out naturally because you did them by mistake, right? So that's why I like doing this kind of sketching on a single layer, because it forces the design to evolve over time, which is very helpful. Another strap there, another strap in there. And then what I can do after the fact is when I go and start adding color and playing around with those types of things like materials, I can actually just paint under this line layer, and everything goes a lot faster. Oh, actually, this is interesting. So these shapes that I formed on the front here can actually affect the back side as well. And you know what? The way this guy's arm is, I actually want to have him holding his helmet. So that way we can get a sense of both what the helmet looks like on and what the helmet looks like off. And then what I was saying before about this coming around, that's actually that shape right there. So we can think about how this might look. Actually, I want to kind of bring it down to the sacrum. What's your favorite part of working on a podcast? The voiceover acting, the writing, or in this case, the drawing? Well, in regards to, I mean, look, the Bright Sessions is pretty great because I just get to show up and I get to do the super, super fun work, which is just putting on a creepy voice and being Damien, right? And what you miss there is all of the grueling hours that Lauren has to go through of doing the writing, of coming up with the story. And that the writing is certainly the most difficult part I've come to find so far. I think that for me, the drawing will be certainly a lot of fun, but I really think nothing compares to just getting some really talented actors in front of a couple of mics and just letting them act. That's super great. So I'm really looking forward to doing all my casting and finding my actors and all that fun stuff. Okay, the back side of this. I know that eventually I'm going to want some type of harness going like that. So I'm not sure if what I've put in there for the kind of pants are going to work, but at least it's a basis to start on. Man, this back piece is still... It's taunting me, guys. It's taunting me. Not quite figuring it out yet. Do any of you guys do a lot of drawing? Painting's great. Drawing, painting, art, visual mediums. Yeah, I feel you on the handwriting. My chicken scratch up there. Okay, gotta keep moving. I want to try to 6:40 now. By the top of the hour, I want to try to start getting into some values, get done with the line drawing. So I gotta pick up the speed just a tad. Chicken Scratch Club. Hashtag Chicken Scratch Club. That's a thing now, right? We just made it one. By the way, guys, if there's any troubles with the stream or anything, please do let me know. This is my first time doing the streaming, so aside from my testings earlier, but if my audio cuts out or anything, be sure to yell at me. It's rotating canvas to try to get a nicer circle for that helmet. I want to try to look at something like The Martian. Get some inspiration from that. Have I done fan art for the Bright sessions? I have not, actually. Haven't done any painting for the Bright sessions, but I've been mostly, honestly, consumed with just trying to figure out what this podcast is going to be. So this has been something I've been working on cooking in my brain for a long time. I still hate this back piece. Ugh. Just trying to look at some reference on my other monitor. Maybe it's not bulky enough. Maybe I just need like a big, bulky thing. It may be too early to comment on this, but since you're adding visuals to a prominently visualless medium, what's your plan for diversifying your characters? So, I'm still making sure that, the goal is to make sure that the podcast still fully functions and is very good without the visual mediums. The visuals will be supplementary and will kind of add more flavor to the viewer experience. But in terms of diversifying the characters, that really comes more in the writing. In terms of the visuals, that's something definitely to explore once I get the main architecture of the suits and everything down. Like maybe there are different accent colors that certain people have. Other ways to lead into kind of the story and how the world works. But we shall have to see. Yeah, I figured that since this is the first one, okay, with the buffering. Okay, I might have to do some testing before Thursday with the second one to make sure that it all goes a little smoother. But for now, this is what we got. I also love how the thing I started with are characters, are figures, and I am not a character artist. I'm more of an environment guy, but so I love how I started with the thing that I'm pretty weak at right off the bat. Okay, this harness. Ooh, this shape is not big enough, is it? That needs to come down a lot more. Okay, I know I want these things in here. Get those squares in there. Then there are going to be these wires coming out of the side. And then this is going to be like a little pouch that holds all the wires so they don't fling everywhere. Will you ever see the face of the main character? I am not gonna say one way or another quite yet. Um, yeah, I'll leave it at that. What's your favorite thing about space, or is it just Mars? Hence the podcast. No, I love space travel. I love both real world space stuff and kind of fantasy things. I just really I like the idea of things that are bigger than us. You know, as I start to now think about this helmet. Get the visor in there. Do I believe in aliens? So in which sense? In the have aliens ever been to Earth sense? No, I do not believe in aliens. In the do aliens exist in general? I think it's impossible for them not to, like statistically. Either that or humanity just got so freaking lucky that it's not even funny. Which, who knows? But I think there are probably some aliens out there. Space is a big place. And you see me slowly getting messier and messier. Um, in my opinion, that's actually a good thing at these early stages, because at the beginning I was really tense. I was going really slowly. Um, but as you get a move on, you just become more confident in your strokes, and you can place things down much faster. I'm going to start to block out this harness thing. I think I'm going to have to change the pants a bit to achieve quite what I want. And I'm going to make the pants a little baggy so that they're kind of crunched into that harness. Yeah, I'm going to have to change the front of these pants for sure. For sure. Gonna have to change that. Okay, I kind of like the general feeling of that, so I'll get this other one in. Oh, little freezing there. There we go. How about you, Megan? Do you believe in aliens? Alright, boots. Time for boots. We all like boots, right? Fashion. Boom. Look how amazing these detailed boots are. As I just put in a box for his foot. But I'm thinking about like some type of like shin guard, almost like this front is very like hard in case he were to like fall or I don't need too hard. Ooh, knee pads. That's what every good astronaut needs, knee pads. And we're gonna run these shin guards pretty much up to the knee pads. There's gonna be something about this area that's very blank. I kind of like the idea of keeping like everyone has a name tag right here. Your name in this story, in this world, is very, very significant. That's attached to the idea that no one remembers anything, right? So I want to make the names very prominent in the design. Okay, time check. Oh no, 5 minutes. Okay. We gotta zoom here if we're gonna get to color. Or shading, rather. Probably not color. I might throw in a couple materials for like the helmet and stuff. Shin guard, boom. Shin guard, boom. This leg's anatomy is so not right, but it doesn't matter. They're thumbnails. We can always get that stuff later. Correct later on. I feel like this guy's just like striking his pose like, I've been working on my glutes. I just, you know, I want that opportunity to show him off. Just really proud of the work I've been putting in, you know? That is the inner monologue of this guy. I can't wait for you guys to see the shading dropped in, because it happens pretty fast once you set everything up properly and have decent like line drawings to go off of. Goes pretty quick on the shading front. Oh my god, the oxygen. We forgot the oxygen, guys. Our guy can't breathe yet. He may forget his name, but he'll never forget leg day. Oh, man. Leg day is very important, okay? Especially when you're trapped on Mars. I don't know, Alice. I, for one, would still be a big fan of hair, even if I had glutes like this guy. Ah, 6:59. Okay. Whew. Power through. Power through. Go fast. Get those guys in. And there's another reason that I'm doing... Like, you might ask, okay, why not just pick one of these guys, dress this guy up. Why am I doing 4, and why not just 1? Well, because I'm doing it because I want to exploit my mistakes as much as possible, right? Um, when we make mistakes, we're always like, will the live stream end at exactly 1 hour? No. I'm gonna go until I'm gonna go 2 hours. So it's gonna be we got a whole nother hour going. It's just I wanted to hit that milestone so I can get to some coloring for you guys. But anyway, when you're doing multiple things at once, like I always try to do multiple paintings at once if I'm doing one, just because you make mistakes and sometimes that ends up leading to a better design or a better result in the end. These are not nearly high enough. Like, see how something's messed up on this one proportionally in comparison to these ones over here, which means that it forces me to break something, because I still need these like attachments here, the attachment over there, but now they're much longer, and this belt is much thicker on that far right one than on these ones, and so it just forces those differences, which later on when I'm saying, okay, I'm going to go do the actual painting, I can take a look and say, do I like these elements over here, or do I like these elements over here? And yeah, just giving yourself more options, which therefore leads you to a better result in the end, hopefully, ideally. And there's my little air thing. Let's just put in his hand, and let's jump into color, or shading rather. Delete that guy. And we are going to do that using masks. So I'm going to put a layer directly under this kind of sketch layer I got there, and just drop in something here. Do I usually listen to music or eat snacks or do something else while I draw? Usually I listen to rain, believe it or not. I find music, I want to sing along, and it distracts me. So music, sometimes I'm listening to music, but most often I'm actually not, especially during design type of work. Believe it or not, this designing stuff actually takes, excuse me, it takes more energy, more brain power than like finishing paintings. Finishing paintings just takes time, right? You're just cramming a bunch of details into something that's already been figured out. But this is the stage where I'm making a bunch of decisions, and every decision you make is just that many more calories expended by your brain, and it wears you down after a while. So I try to just listen to something very meditative, like rain or like white noise or something like that. Just kind of cleaning up the areas that I missed. And we can get into shading. So I'll pick a softer brush. And I use what's called a clipping mask here, which means that I can paint and it'll only appear over those shapes that I already put down. So you can see how cool this is when I just come in here and just start dropping in shadows. It goes really fast. And at first it's really soft because I'm using a big airbrush, but then I'll go back in and break it up and it'll look a little nicer. Because I like to find ways to be really messy but still get a good result. Because right now I'm just painting really loosely. So now that I have the base of shadows in there, I can switch it up and put in the base of highlights. And my light here is going to be coming from the top right. So I just want to keep that in mind as I pick out what gets hit by the light. And pretty quickly you see we're getting something that now at least feels a little more 3D. It still looks really rough and really blocky, but it'll get there. And you can see everything's working together right here. If I turn off the line layer, everything looks really weird. Like, you just don't, your brain doesn't have enough information to really pick out what's going on. But now that you put that line layer back on, it starts to just pop out again. Let's find some color for the helmet, shall we? And to get the right color for the helmet, I start with a base that I can then add on top of. So I'm going to start with a lighter color, and then I'm going to slowly get darker, but every time, or slowly get more into like oranges and reds, but every time I do that, I'm going to get a little darker and a little more saturated. So now I'll throw this in on the side, and over time, as I layer this up, it'll look, it'll get that kind of texture that that the poster had. a little more of that orange. Start creeping in here. And actually, let's put some skin tones in for him so we can get a sense of that this is open skin. And obviously, this is an ugly green color, so I'll have to paint over most of that, but I can work my way towards more of a skin color. Favorite thing to draw, paint. Probably at this point, landscapes, but not like natural landscapes, like environments, like sci-fi environments, and things like that. I like this kind of gray that I'm using for the helmet accents. Or not the helmet accents, but I guess the main material for the helmet. It's got a touch of blue in it, so it's not quite as dull as just using pure like white or gray. You made it! The Change Queen, you made it! Oh my god, hi, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And the idea with this process is once I get everything, all the main colors like blocked in, I will eventually be able to get rid of the line layer that we did and just completely delete it all together. But I got a little bit more work to do before we get to that stage. How do I plan to get the word out about Tarnum, aside from the help of us TBS fans? Well, obviously a big part of the core audience at the beginning will come straight from the Bright sessions, just because that's where people follow from and things like that. But hopefully I'll be able to link up with some of the other podcasts and become more active in the community as a whole, and meet some of those people and start hanging out with them a bit. but we'll see. I have some plans to kind of go after and introduce certain online art communities to this once I get it going. But I want to actually get some of the episodes out before once I start doing like exploring the marketing sides of things. How'd I come up with the idea? I knew I wanted to do something sci-fi, and specifically, I knew I wanted to do something where I can have a lot of spacesuits and like cool looking astronaut esque stuff. Um, and then I went through a period where I was obsessed with Mars just a little bit, um, and that's where this came from. Gotta love spacesuits, man. Gotta love spacesuits. Um, can we see more of your art anywhere? So, um, a lot of the art that I'm doing, I actually have to keep under wraps until it's released. Just because certain things blatantly give away story in a way that other things don't. Like this is very general, right? So it doesn't really give away much of the story. But for example, I'm not going to do probably some of the frames for the final episode of season 1 before I even like start. I probably wouldn't do that on the live stream because it would give away stuff, right? Um, so you'll probably start seeing as we get closer to release me working on a lot of the um, early sequence art, and then kind of behind the scenes I'll be doing more of the later sequence art. But I'm going to be posting as much art as I can on the Instagram for Tarnum. But then pretty much all my other personal work is me just trying to get this thing going. And the beauty of thumbnails, when you zoom out, you can start to see how the forms are starting to shake up. And I want most of the suit to have this very white feel. Give it the kind of that uh, kind of like real astronaut suits, right? They're primarily white, and then they've got these accent colors that really make your eye pop to certain parts of the suit. So if, for instance, this whole kind of front plate is very white and bright, and then the centerpiece has some color on it, boom, your eye's going to zoom to that and say, ooh, what's over there? Which is exactly what we want, to just control where we're looking as the viewer. Scribble, 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 scribble. You asked what I listen to when I draw. Um, a lot of the time, it's just me going scribble, 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 and just talking to myself. In addition to the rain. Okay, I'm going to take this sketch layer and I'm going to start to decrease the opacity just a little bit. You can see if we take it all the way out, things still don't hold yet. So we still need that line layer, but we can start to just try to fade it out a little bit. And I want my accent colors now. Yeah, there's a good orange. And as I'm dropping in these colors, you see I'm kind of destroying some of the shadow information. That's okay. Like, I can bring that shadow information back pretty quickly. What it did for me was give me a really quick idea of what the forms were like, so that I could just start being a little more accurate about how I place things in. You know what? I don't like that color. I want to go a little more like red with it. I like red. That'll go along with the logo better too. Space podcasts, art, and Charlie's voice. What's not to love? Who would have thought that Damien would be sitting here drawing astronauts in front of you, right? Oh, back to working on the glutes. It doesn't surprise me they decided to launch Damien to space, right? Right, Megan? I'm surprised they didn't do that right from the beginning. Damien, get out of here. You causing trouble, you. right, let's get this black going in here now. Have a good one, dancing. Wait, dancing. Smiley. I can't read worth anything. Thanks for coming though. Again, we're gonna be doing these every Tuesday and Thursday. I know I know that early in the morning might not be too fun for you, but I'll also be making sure that they're available to watch on repeat. Well, of course everyone hates Damien and loves Charlie. Damien sucks. Charlie's weird and like friendly. And Damien is not. And now we can cheat again to bring our shadows back. That's black magic. Natalie Winters, where do you draw inspiration from in terms of spacesuit design? These look hella rad. Well, thank you. So you can't see it, but I've actually got two screens up that I'm looking at right now. You can only see this one, which is the one on my right, that has Photoshop up, and this is, and then on the other one, I've got some Google Images up. I've got some images I found. I'm looking at the movie images from the movie The Martian with Matt Damon. I'm looking at all the way back to like 2001: Space Odyssey. I'm drawing from real life, from some like real life spacesuits, as well as real life concept spacesuits. So like SpaceX and their whole mission to Mars setup and things like that. Um, I'm trying to draw more from those sources of inspiration because I want this to very much feel like it is the future, but not too far in the future. That's what I want it to feel like. Am I like the Lauren shipping for Tarnum? That's a good way to put it. I like that. Hell, if I can live up to how well Lauren's uh, done with the Bright sessions, yeah, I'll take that. Let's try to be Lauren for Tarnum, essentially. Matt Damien, where it's basically the same, but we leave him there. Um, sure, but a little more sci-fi spin to it than that. I'm really. Why is this guy's skin yellow? Ugh, what did I do here? What did I do here? Lauren! How we doing, Lauren? Good to see you. You know what? This guy can live with the yellow face. That's fine. He can rock the yellow face for a little bit because it's not relevant to the actual design of the suit. Back to our glutes guy. Do your worst to Damien. No, Damien's amazing. Why would you ever think anything negative about Damien? I don't understand. I don't understand, Megan. I think I think if people would just open up and let Damien into their hearts, um, no, he'd still be a prick, wouldn't he? I see what you did there. Glutes guy is out of this world. Huh. Very punny. So essentially, what'll happen with these thumbnails is, you very well could just take any one of these and bring them to a fully finished painting, um, which is how most of my paintings go. I usually go through a bunch of thumbnail phases while I'm trying to figure out the design of things, and then I just literally transfer one of my thumbnails over and slap it into a new canvas and go from there and just painting over it. No, our little box got left out. Our little converter box thingy. Just checking on the time. 7:36. We're gonna go till the top of the hour and call it there. And then I'm gonna go get terrified by the movie It, apparently. Which my girlfriend's dragging me to. I say that. I'm so terrified to go see this movie, guys. It's okay, I can do it. Cool. So now I'm going to do something a little scary, which is flatten all of this down. So we started with these guys. Boop. Right? And now we're sitting on these guys. So now that everything's at least blocked in there, now we can start refining more of the shape, so it doesn't look so muddy. Everything looks very like smeared and messy right now. Now what we got to do is go back in and clean all this up. Where am I at, like global wise? I'm in Los Angeles, California. Let's get this chess piece a little more fleshed out. And start integrating those shadows. Hi from New York. New York. Woohoo! Good night. Have a good one. Thanks for coming. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I'll be here, slugging away at this stuff. And again, the streams will be archived for those who want to watch them later or can't make it to the design sessions. Okay, Helmet. It's time to conquer thee. Let's fix your silhouette. You know what? It's time to cheat. We cheat as often as we can, because it's all about getting to the result quick here. So I'm just going to use a handy-dandy sphere. It's a little too big. It keeps lagging. Okay, so for sure tomorrow I'll have to do some testing to figure out the lagging issue. But we're almost to the end here tonight, so we'll slug it out here for the rest of tonight, and then tomorrow I will do some work on my end to make sure that the experience will be a little better on Thursday. Sorry about that. Bound to be a few technical hurdles to get over at the beginning. Coolio, quick question. Why did I name it Tarnum? That is the $1,000,000 question, isn't it? So it's a very central story point to the idea of what Tarnum actually is. And you see that name show up on a lot of the stuff in the show, like so presumably it's some sort of NASA-esque company that that has built this place, and there's a lot of mystery surrounding Tarnum. In terms of how did I come up with the name, it's an homage to something, and I'll let that be a little Easter egg for those who want to go find it. What Tarnum actually is an homage to. I don't like the bottom of these helmets currently. Like thinking about how they actually attach to the base. I'm not a huge fan yet. Just got to solve that somehow. Maybe I'll try to throw in a... You know what? I think I want some sort of separation in these panels here. Make like a... That goes back, and then we can take a look at our back view and see how that lines out. Same with that, it would be kind of like that's happening in our back view. every time you see me zooming out like that, I'm looking at all of them together to see the things that repeat that I really like versus the things that repeat that I really don't like. For instance, there's this empty space that keeps showing up. And we're going to have to do something with that empty space. The reason I'm ignoring it right now is because I think that's going to be, I'm going to have the name tag somewhere up there. And that'll be a good way to draw attention to that name tag. And the yellow face once more is bothering me, so we're gonna give this another go on this face. Try to get some warmer skin tones in there. That makes me feel better. So you see a lot of this process is just looking at something, saying, I don't like X, Y, or Z, and going and scribbling on it for a little bit to see if it gets better. That's pretty much what my experience is always like painting. It's not like I never know how to fix it in the moment. You just start pushing stuff around and hope something happens. Have I had to do a lot of scientific research about Mars or astronauts in order to write this podcast? I'd say I did a moderate amount of research. It still is kind of science fiction, fantasy-esque, but it is. I wanted to be grounded in reality, so I try not to do anything completely beyond the sense of reason, except, of course, the premise of the show, which involves cryo freezing. So that's not too realistic, but a lot of the other stuff I'm at least trying to have some semblance of at least making sense on a technological level. It might not be perfect, but believability is the priority over necessarily being 100% accurate on a bunch of stuff. Oh, this helmet's still bothering me. I don't like the shape of this interior. Let's just try to do one big swoop. You know what? I really like the Martian's head helmet. I'm going to try to find that real quick. Just to see why that works and mine doesn't. So it looks like it's a lot more like egg-shaped. Favorite field of science? Ooh. Favorite field of science? I'm not sure. I just love science. And I'm really bummed that we currently live in a culture that maybe doesn't value science as much as it should, but that's besides the point. I really like space. Space is awesome. Um, I've always got my eye out for that mission to Mars announcement. Um, but yeah, I just love science in general. And as a person who's trained in CG, like I really like that type of science too, like computer graphics. Um, I went to a conference called SIGGRAPH this year, um, which is the big like technology conference in LA, and that was a lot of fun. Oh, slight freeze on my Cintiq, and we're back. If I could go to Mars, would I? Um, like if I could go to Mars tomorrow, like in the current state of, I don't want to be the first person to go to Mars. Like I want other people to go do the dangerous stuff, and then they're like, hey, we found a way to get here really safe. You can come and do like a little Mars vacation for a couple months. Yeah, then I'm in. But I'm not down to be the guinea pig. Right, Alice? I like to think that in Wolf 359 they secretly were just like listening to all of our podcasts. Like when they got bored. That's what I imagine happened. What podcast do you listen to, and do you listen to the Bright Sessions as episodes release, or just hear it as you record? Um, I, for the most part, I'm actually usually behind on the Bright Sessions, just out of a nature of trying to get my stuff done, and not having the luxury of uh, being able to devote, because when I listen to Bright Sessions, like I really want to like pay attention to it, see if there's things I didn't notice going on, so that would influence next time I record or something like that. Which that's another thing. I usually try to catch up on the Bright Sessions right before a recording. Um, to make sure I'm all good to go. Oh no, less than 5 minutes. Okay, how far did I get here? I got I got some stuff done. Uh, Not quite as fleshed out, but that's why we got 2 live streams a week. So I'll be able to flesh out this guy more and get closer to being ready for the actual frames of the show. And then back to the question of what other podcasts do I listen to. I've been I've been trying to avoid going back and listen to Wolf 359 just because I know it's in the same theme. Just not the same by any means, but a similar type of sci-fi. So I just didn't want to get too influenced by anything. But I've got a long list of podcasts yet to listen to. Oh, believe me, Megan, that's a worry. I'm I'm trying to think of ways to keep this interesting as we go along. I think one of the ways I might be able to do that is changing up the type of design work I do. Like this was very ground up. I started with thumbnails, and I'm going through like very linearly. But I might do like almost more challengey type stuff. Like, okay, I'm gonna do 4 environment paintings at once and go, and I've got 2 hours. Like that type of stuff. But then, on the days that I'm not on the stream, I am I'm going hard at just trying to get the podcast to you guys as fast as possible. Which long hours, and I didn't do myself a favor on that on the front of work by adding all these visual elements to the podcast, but I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist the idea of audio drama comic book. That just sounds so enticing. So I can reference these guys later, I'm just going to throw a quick A, B, C, D. And we'll, whoops. Of course, the thing I mess up is my own signature. Okay, so there's where we landed for the day. And hopefully we'll be able to refine these a little bit more and work our way towards more of a polished image, kind of like the poster image that we started with in the teaser announcement, which I hope you guys enjoyed, over the next couple sessions. But then I'm hoping to move pretty quickly into more of the environments, which will probably raise more questions for you guys than anything about what the hell this podcast is about, because I've got some pretty crazy images in my head for what this place looks like, and that should be some fun stuff awaiting us. But we'll end there, and again, these will be archived to watch after the fact. But I will see you guys on Thursday if you want to join up, and we'll have a good time. I encourage you to draw along with me and shoot it to me on social media. Get some community art going. But anyway, we'll end it there, guys, and we will see you on Thursday.